What has been the most destructive lie in human history? If we give tax breaks to the wealthy, the wealth will trickle down. Cigarette smoking is no more addictive than coffee, tea, or Twinkies. James W. Johnston. That capitalism is the only possibility and that it always promotes freedom and prosperity. Everyone's a winner, or everyone is special and gets a gold star mentality. I understand the goal to build up kids, but it makes adult life and real loss so much tougher on them when they've always been told they should get everything they ever want and will always win. There's barely any resilience built with this mentality. Might be explaining this poorly, but it's hard to word without sounding like I want to smash the happiness of children into the ground because I don't think everyone is a winner and should get a gold star. That some groups of people can't think for themselves. It justifies so much Western imperialism, from slavery and manifest destiny, to the invasion of countless countries that didn't align with the US interests. Road to hell is paved with good intentions. There's always a glorious excuse to hurt people if you're convinced they'd be better off that way but don't know it themselves. That violence doesn't solve anything. Historically, violence has solved many a thing. Sugar isn't the problem, it's fats. Let's make everything fat-free and just triple the sugar content. When Thomas Midgley Jr. campaigned for lead to be put into fuel knowing it has adverse effects on people and the environment, easily had more adverse impact on the atmosphere than any other single organism in Earth's history. Bill Bryson remarked that Midgley possessed an instinct for the regrettable that was almost uncanny. Fred Pierce, writing for New Scientist, described Midgley as a one-man environmental disaster. Did he know the total outcome of his decisions? No, but he is still responsible. The idea that we are separate and disconnected from each other and our environment. A specific historical example: in 1843, a man called Hong Xiuquan claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus. This led to him starting the Taiping Rebellion, which caused the deaths of between 20 million and 70 million people. Then again, he probably believed it, so it might not count as a lie. I'm going out for milk and cigarettes. I'll be back in an hour, Dad. One of the worst, in my opinion, is that babies need to cry it out in order to develop good sleep habits. The disconnection babies feel when they do that can lead to sociopathic behaviors. They cry for so long that they end up fainting. Their brains are rushed with cortisol over and over until they just learn that no one is coming to help them. Children can have broken sleep up into their toddler years and early childhood. Young babies need to be fed around the clock, and need to be changed. There are lots of studies as to why it is harmful, yet people swear by one dude. Effing Ferber. Also edit, I am not here to judge people who made this choice. This is from my own informed decision about my children, and I am allowed to state what I chose and why I feel that way. That you can wake up in the morning and just rest your eyes. Climate change isn't real. Vaccines cause autism. Trickle-down economics. Take your pick. The top is the end of the world as we know it. The second is keeping many diseases around and literally killing millions of people. And the last is what enables the wealthy to continue to exploit the rest of the world. That free healthcare is communism. You have poor dying people who could be saved but will fight tooth and nail against free healthcare. The parasitic insurance companies and their paid-for politicians are laughing their asses off on the way to the bank. We won't invest money developing the steam engine because slaves are cheaper. The literal Roman Empire. Get a vape pen, it will stop you from wanting to smoke. Does the complete opposite, aggravating my addiction. Meanwhile, little kid sees it. Little kid, it smells like strawberries, I want a vape pen too. Now you have little kids vaping so much their lung could be worse than mine. That healthy fats and oils are bad for you and sugar is no big deal. It's the complete opposite from the actual truth. Our bodies are supposed to run mostly on fat and sugar is mildly toxic. Sugar is the cause of many of today's chronic illnesses, or at least the trigger to them. That we are special with the planet being made just for us, and that we are separate from other animals. I think about how destructive this was daily. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This was a supposed documentation of a real-life international Jewish conspiracy to take over the world. It solidified past anti-Semitic thought, particularly that of blood libel, and made it more mainstream starting in Eastern Europe and then spreading worldwide. It made its way to America as well through Henry Ford. Even after it was proven to be a forgery, the book and its hate still gets passed around today and has been very destructive to Jewish communities across the globe. It also has inspired other dangerous conspiracy theories such as QAnon's adrenochrome-related beliefs. Plastic is easily recyclable so long as the public does their duty to sort it and bring it to its designated waste area. The first few days of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. When Chevron and Exxon knew in the 1970s how bad fossil fuels were for the environment and how much damage they'd done by that point and still said nah, they're okay to use. Putin won't use nuclear weapons. We'll revisit this in 10 years. The idea we need to keep purchasing new clothes to stay in the trend. Communism, everyone will be wealthy and happy, but first we must kill half of our population. Oh, and we must follow the great plan of harvesting only 3 potatoes. Our great leader has calculated that it will be enough to feed 300 million people. The 1964 Surgeon General's report concluded that smoking cigarettes causes death and disease. However, in a 1971 television interview, the president of Philip Morris denied the health risks that pregnant women and their babies face, saying that it's true that babies born from women who smoke are smaller, but they are just as healthy as the babies born to women who do not smoke. Some women would prefer to have smaller babies. That having the interior light on in the car was an arrestable offense. Don't know if this is a lie or just plain incompetence. George Bush Jr. told the world there were WMDs in Iraq and subsequently pulled us into a 20-year war that cost US taxpayers over $2 trillion that did absolutely nothing except kill a lot of innocent people and cost a lot of money. Tobacco isn't harmful. Using the internet isn't traceable. Global warming isn't real. Christopher Columbus peacefully found North America. The Vietnam War was started off of a real incident and wasn't fabricated. Global warming isn't real, and burning fossil fuels isn't harmful. Every oil company. You can achieve anything you want in your life if you work hard enough. If you do X, you'll be rewarded with Y in the afterlife. Nuclear is more dangerous than continued reliance on fossil fuels. 1. This radium paint is perfectly safe to handle. 2. This ship is unsinkable. 3. That black boy whistled at me. Nestlé, the baby killer scandal. They deliberately lied to mothers in developing countries to sell their baby formula, telling them that their own milk was nutritionally insufficient and their babies would be unhealthy if they continued to breastfeed them. The result of this marketing campaign was approximately 66,000 infant mortalities. Why yes, Joseph, I'm still a virgin, why would you ask? Said Mary as 3 strange men showed up with gifts. I don't think we know the answer to this question yet. For example, the most destructive lie in human history may be the lie that Genghis Khan's grandmother told him about his destiny. I mean, if such a lie existed. Or it could be a lie about a virgin birth or resurrection in the Near East, should those obviously suspicious reports prove deceptive and not surprisingly accurate or simply understandably incorrect. So, if we are working off the lies we have a general consensus about, we generally agree that these statements are lies, I'd be hard-pressed to think of lies more consequential than the lies told by corporations regarding the human impact on global climate change beginning in the 1970s and on. They put all of humankind in harm's way. Checking off the I accept the terms and conditions. Anthropocentrism, that the earth and nature exist to serve humans. Climate change is your fault. You need to change the way you do things, not the corporate conglomerate that's pumping 1 billion tons a year. Maybe not the most, but the war on drugs, completely fucked over our medical understanding in almost every way. Thomas Midgley and General Motors lying that exposure to tetraethyl lead is harmless. Tetraethyl lead was a gasoline additive present in all gasoline sold in the US until it was banned in the 70s. Almost every child growing up from 1920 to 1970 had lead poisoning to some degree. Entire generations grew up with their minds being poisoned, unable to reach their potentials because of him. Not to mention the secondary effects. Lead exposure is associated with criminal behaviors. That radium paint isn't poisonous. Thousands of watch dial workers in the US used to apply radium brushes on their tongues to paint numbers on watch dials, and almost all of these workers were women. As these workers were dying due to radiation poisoning, the companies brought in fake doctors and convinced the victims and their families that they have venereal diseases like syphilis. As this was mostly affecting women, most were scared to share it with their families for fear of retaliation and abandonment. The suffering endured by these women was extremely awful. Their jaws fell off, their bones fractured, their hair was lost, and most lost eyesight until their eventual painful death. These women were called radium girls. Eventually many fought back, settled lawsuits, and brought the entire radium production industry down. Unfortunately, many innocent women lost their lives before this evil industry was brought down. So,